Hi everyone, my name is Abhuraj Karakapati. Welcome to my YouTube channel Amazing Abha.
Don't just hear the story, enter it.
Damien's office with just as many questions as answers, though he is still grateful that the professor went to such lengths to help him. As he walks away, he notices a strange feeling of suffocation that has been bothering him since earlier. The reason becomes clear. It is because he did not bring his sashimi knife with him, which has effectively become his ultimate sensory tool. He has grown so accustomed to having the blade with him that being without it now makes him feel restricted. As the days pass and the festival approaches, the group continues preparing for their kimchi stall. They spend their time practicing cooking, setting up their booth and arranging outfits for the event. By the time the festival finally arrives, everything is fully prepared and ready to open. Over the roughly 20 years that Gioma spent living with a knife in his hand, he revived numerous struggling restaurants. Each time, he refused any form of payment and instead sought out places that were on the verge of collapse, doing it purely for his own satisfaction. In a way, this became his own form of romance. Perhaps his sudden desire to participate in a festival is simply a late manifestation of a youthful phase he never experienced. Now, with only 10 minutes remaining before they open their stall for the first time, his club members arrive to begin their shifts. Knowing that this might be the last festival they will experience together, Gioma makes up his mind to enjoy it to the fullest. Elsewhere, Rachel and Abel walk through the festival while wearing disguises and taking pictures together. The atmosphere around them feels surprisingly festive, and the main reason for that is most likely because so many important figures have shown up for the event. Abel mentions that her grandfather was supposed to be one of those people attending, but since he has already retired and does not enjoy these kinds of gatherings anyway, he decided not to come. As they continue walking through the fair, Rachel notices a flyer lying on the ground that advertises kimchi hot pot. Meanwhile, the heroes begin appearing on stage one by one, which causes excitement to rise among both the crowd and the students watching. Eventually, All Mute makes her way through the crowd, and the moment people even catch a glimpse of her, they go wild. Among those reacting is Speed Weapon, who immediately starts shouting in excitement as soon as he sees his hero step onto the stage. While doing that, however, he ends up squeezing and crumpling the flyers that Ryoso told him to hang up earlier. Ryoso quickly notices this and comes over to scold him right away. She grabs him by the tip of his ear and starts dragging him back toward their booth. But along the way, he suddenly trips over someone's boot. Both of them look up at the same time and see Rachel and Abel standing right in front of them. Meanwhile, back at the travel club's booth, customers are slowly starting to come in, but business is still moving at a slow pace. Inside the kitchen, Chloe is handling the vegetables with skill, cutting them cleanly, while Gioma focuses entirely on cooking. He only showed her a small portion of his technique, but even from that, she has already become very good with a knife. As the amount of work begins to increase, Gioma starts wondering where Ryoso and Speed Weapon went, and not long after, Ryoso returns while dragging a beaten-up Speed Weapon behind her. Right after that, Rachel suddenly rushes into the booth and runs straight toward Gioma, trying to hug him. However, she is immediately blocked by Chloe, who is fully ready to stop her, even if she has to use a kitchen knife to do it. Behind Rachel, Abel stands nervously and greets Gioma, her face completely flushed red. The two of them take their seats as customers and prepare to be served. While Gioma is cooking their food, he cannot help but wonder why they came here in the first place. Even though he was the one who promoted the booth, he never actually expected them to show up. Since he does not want any trouble, he thinks that the safest option would be to send them away before more customers arrive. Meanwhile, Rachel points towards Senhana and mentions that she is the girl Gioma was smiling at earlier. This time, however, instead of reacting angrily like before, Abel responds in a more relaxed manner, although it is obvious that she is pretending not to care. The two girls did not take part in any festival activities, and Abel tries to justify it by saying that exams are coming soon, so they need to focus on studying instead of doing things like this. At the other end of the booth, Speed Weapon is in terrible condition after being dragged back by Ryuzo. It is clear that she gave him a proper beating before they returned, and the bruises on his face are easy to see. Even so, he is not embarrassed about it, and continues defending his fangirling over all mute and explaining why he went to see her. Jeoma points him toward an ice cooler, and tells him to use the ice to treat his injuries. As Speed Weapon walks away, Jeoma's thoughts drift toward all mute. Her real name is Con Elizabeth, and she is an American hero who has already been mentioned as a candidate for the next 7-star position. In this world, the United States stands as one of the top superpowers alongside Korea. Because of that influence, they have built their own independent system within the hero world, where heroes are treated more like celebrities, and the entire system functions almost like a business. The real heroes are the ones who leave behind their names through death, while the celebrity heroes live off their fame and reputation. This creates a strange middle ground, where heroes have gradually become nothing more than tools for cheap publicity. From Jeoma's point of view, neither the traditional heroes nor the celebrity heroes match his ideals. He feels relieved that he was not reincarnated in America, because he would probably have ended up with some ridiculous name like Sashimi Man, and been forced to wear a tight, spandex outfit. Up until now, he and Con Elizabeth have never officially crossed paths. Even after the Sword Emperor named him as his successor, he already plans to refuse that position. But until then, it would be better for him to avoid all mute entirely. The safest way to do that is to stay quietly at his booth and continue making kimchi stew for the next 3 days. After all, someone of her level of attention would never come to a small stall like his just to eat stew. Meanwhile, Ryozo confronts Abel over her earlier comments about working at the booth during the festival. She does not like how careless and biased Abel sounded. Abel, however, defends herself, explaining that it is not about the activity itself, but that she feels embarrassed because of the maid outfits. As their argument continues to escalate, an unexpected visitor suddenly walks into the booth. Everyone turns their attention toward the purple-haired woman as she walks straight toward the kitchen area without even bothering to take a seat. Like a normal customer, she heads directly up to Jeoma and looks him over, identifying him as the one who defeated her brothers. Jeoma immediately recognizes her as the sister of the infamous Mo twins he fought during his admission exam. She is known as Molon, the iron-legged warrior. With a simple snap of her fingers, she signals one of her followers to bring over a chair and a footstool for her to sit comfortably. As she settles in, Jeoma notices the S-rank weapon on her feet, Storm Greaves. The fact that she arrived wearing full battle gear makes it clear that she came prepared for a confrontation. Chloe immediately steps forward to defend Jeoma, but he raises his hand to stop her and silently signals both Ryozo and Sanhana not to interfere. Surprisingly, Molon does not seem interested in revisiting past conflicts. Instead, she explains that she came to personally see what kind of person Kang Jeoma really is. While she admits that her brothers have terrible personalities, she also acknowledges that they are still quite skilled. However, ever since their encounter with Jeoma, they have developed seizures whenever his name is mentioned. She clarifies that she is not here for revenge. In her view, Jeoma actually did her a favor. Her brothers were reckless and impulsive, constantly tarnishing the Mo family's reputation. By dealing with them, Jeoma effectively removed that problem, clearing obstacles from her own path. Molon makes it clear that she is aiming for a position among the 7-star heroes, and her influence and popularity are strong enough to rival even Con Elizabeth. However, she lacks the same level of ability as All Mute and is also burdened by the negative image associated with her brothers, making it less certain that she will achieve that goal. Since that seems to be the extent of what she wanted to say, Jeoma sees no reason to continue entertaining her and turns back to his work. But just before leaving, Molon throws out a remark criticizing his cooking, clearly intending to provoke him. That comment immediately catches his attention. Jeoma abandons his attempts to keep a low profile and follows after her, unable to ignore the insult directed at his cooking. Words spread quickly throughout the festival that Molon has been challenged to a subspace spar by an unknown cadet. As Leon Van Reinhardt walks through the festival grounds, he overhears people talking about it, and quickly realizes that this unknown cadet is none other than Kang Jeoma. His hands tremble slightly when he hears the name, but instead of going to watch that fight, he simply continues on his way. At the stadium, the seats are completely filled with familiar faces, including Abel and Rachel, along with the renowned All Mute herself. Meanwhile, Molon still appears confident in her victory as she looks over at Jeoma. After all, facing someone as famous and powerful as her could easily leave him in the same condition as her brothers. Jeoma ignores her taunts and immediately gets to the point. She deliberately provoked him into this situation so she could fight him and justify her brother's defeat. Molon does not deny it. As the subspace is deployed, Jeoma calmly tells her that she will never become a 7-star hero. The moment the fight begins, the two clash, creating an explosion of smoke. When the smoke clears, Molon's body is left searching through the haze for Jeoma, while her head has already been sent flying before she even realizes what has happened. Before we move ahead, please take a second to like on this video. A like tells me that you enjoyed this topic. Your support helps Amazing Pie grow naturally. Back at the booth, Senhana seems to be the only one genuinely concerned about Jeoma, while Speedweapon is more focused on the growing number of customers arriving. Hana simply smiles at their confidence, but does not say anything further. Back in the stadium, the audience notices that Molon has staggered, even though neither of them appears to have physically moved. Those in the crowd who can sense power beyond normal levels immediately understand what happened. Jeoma used the realm of the mind against his opponent. This is a technique that only fighters at the 7-star level can freely control, yet Jeoma already shows the talent to use it. Molon is instantly reminded of her old acquaintance, All Mute, and the overwhelming gap in talent she once felt during their academy days. Jeoma must have used that mental realm to show her what would happen if they truly fought. By demonstrating the difference in their abilities without physically attacking her, he preserved her dignity, while also avoiding potential international complications. Kang Jeoma is clearly no ordinary academy student. There had been occasional rumors among the higher-ups, but now it is confirmed he truly is the successor chosen by the Sword Emperor. A flood of emotions, envy, jealousy, fear, and awe fills Molon's mind as memories from her school days resurface. However, she refuses to accept defeat so easily. As soon as she regains her composure, she charges forward, delivering a wide sweeping kick aimed at Jeoma's face. Jeoma steps back and smoothly ducks under her follow-up kick with remarkable speed. The shockwave from her attack is powerful enough to affect even those outside the subspace, and Jeoma briefly glances at the damage it caused. That brief moment gives Molon the opening she needs to leap above him, raising her leg high to deliver a final decisive strike. Jeoma narrowly avoids it as the impact sends rocks flying into the air. Before he can recover, Molon kicks those falling rocks toward him with precise timing. Jeoma slices through them effortlessly with his knife, filling the air with dust and debris. However, a single red thread cuts through the cloud, aimed directly at his chest. He raises his blade just in time to block it, though the impact nearly destroys his knife. Even so, he quickly restores it and immediately shifts to offense, moving at speeds that Molon can no longer track. In an instant, despite her attempts to predict his movements, Jeoma effortlessly slices off her arm, leaving her confused about what just happened. She screams in pain and turns toward him, only to see figures of equal strength standing alongside him. Jeoma assumes a fighting stance as Molon prepares to make one final attempt, but before she can even move, he dashes past her, and her head is sent flying once again. The entire stadium watches in stunned silence as the winner of the subspace duel is declared. Kang Jeoma. Back at the booth, the cheers from the stadium are loud enough for Ryozo to hear. She does not need to be present to understand what happened, and she claps her hands to gather everyone's attention, announcing that Jeoma will be returning soon. Meanwhile, Abel and Rachel leave the training hall, appearing far less surprised than the rest of the crowd by Jeoma's victory. In the end, they never even got to taste his stew, but Abel says that she already feels satisfied. After witnessing a fight like that, she feels like she does not need anything more. Meanwhile, Molon slowly makes her way out of the arena. Physically, she is completely fine, but the situation is going to become a massive issue for her on a global scale. She has just publicly lost to a 17-year-old. Even so, she is not someone who will be crushed by a single defeat. Kang Jeoma possesses overwhelming potential, and he is only going to grow stronger as time goes on. When that happens, she is certain that she will still gain recognition for having fought him before he reached his peak. With the level of strength Jeoma has already shown, it is only a matter of time before even All Mute is forced to bow before him. Molon has witnessed many geniuses throughout her life, including Kanalisabeth during her training days, and even the 7-star heroes after graduating. However, Jeoma is moving along a path that cannot be reached through effort alone. The only way she can describe him is as a monster. News spreads across the internet at an incredible speed. Very quickly, everyone hears about the newcomer who defeated one of the continent's rising stars. No matter how many times people watch the footage, they cannot get over how impressive it is. Before long, the video surpasses 20 million views and crowds begin gathering outside Jeoma's booth. The situation becomes so overwhelming that the travel club is forced to hand out numbers just to manage serving people fairly. Meanwhile, Ryozo struggles to hold back intrusive journalists who are trying to push their way in to interview Jeoma. Behind him, people are taking photos and uploading them online, tagging him as the Sashimi Sword Saint. By now, countless articles and videos have been released discussing his battle. Jeoma had expected attention, but what he did not expect was to be given a new title. The title of Sword Saint is not something that can be obtained in the game Blessing of Miracle. Only the Sword Emperor eventually receives it, and since he has stepped down, the title should have disappeared. Yet somehow, it is now being attached to Jeoma, with Sashimi added in front of it. Ryozo has not stopped teasing him about it since it started, and although it sounds almost like a joke, the consequences are very real. More than 1,000 people are already lined up outside the food stall, and it becomes far too much for them to handle. On top of that, Chloe is reaching her limit, and is on the verge of hurting herself due to the workload. Things become so overwhelming that Jeoma even considers using a sword to keep up. At that moment, the sushi chef he met earlier suddenly appears at the stall, accompanied by Nox. Jeoma begins to explain that they are too busy to talk, but the chef clarifies that they are not there as customers. Instead, they came to help after seeing how much attention the stall was receiving on the news. With the additional help, the situation quickly improves and the workload becomes much more manageable. By the evening, the crowd finally disperses and everything settles down completely. Jeoma heads to a quiet spot to rest and enjoy a small snack. It is not something he would want to go through again, but he admits that the experience was still enjoyable. Not long after he begins relaxing, Nox approaches him, and Jeoma thanks him for coming to help at the stall. Taking advantage of the calm atmosphere, Nox asks whether Jeoma will be available the next day. He explains that the head of the auditory family wishes to meet him. This man is known as the greatest assassin of all time, someone who maintains order from the shadows. His name is Altair Auditory. For someone like him to request a meeting, Jeoma can only assume that it is related to the Council of Elders, who attempted to have him assassinated. There is no way Altair did not witness his battle against Molan, which means he must have also seen Jeoma use the realm of the mind. According to Nox, this is the first time the old man has shown interest in someone outside their circle. Not even a 7-star hero is considered worthy enough for him to personally appear. Nox is certain that Jeoma would want to meet him as well, and he would not be wrong. There are many things Jeoma would want to ask. After all, he still owes both the sushi chef and Nox for their help, and this meeting could serve as a way to repay them. However, after thinking it over in silence, Jeoma ultimately decides not to go. He is simply too tired and unwilling to deal with something like that right now. As he leaves, he thanks Nox once again for helping out at the booth. Elsewhere, inside Media's office, a knock echoes at the door and she calmly allows the visitor to enter. The person who steps in is someone she has not seen in quite a while. All mute. Meanwhile, much earlier, before the festival had even begun, when the group was still deciding on a theme for their restaurant, Speed Weapon had managed to secure 3 maid outfits. Chloe appeared excited at the idea of wearing them, but Ryozo strongly resisted, refusing to wear something that she considered too strange. Because of that, Speed Weapon revealed that he had also prepared a backup option 5 Christmas-themed outfits that he believed would suit the girls perfectly. Before we move ahead, please take a second to share on this video. Sharing helps this video reach friends who may also enjoy anime, gaming, travel, cricket, chess, career basics, or personal stories. Your support helps Amazing Abhi grow naturally. However, before he could even finish explaining his idea, Ryozo knocked him straight to the ground in anger, and immediately declared that she would rather wear the maid outfit instead. Back in the present, Media rises from her desk and personally welcomes Kanalisabeth into her office. It has been 5 years since Elizabeth graduated, and this is their first meeting since then. However, there is no need for small talk, As Medea already knows the reason for her visit, she is interested in Gioma. Elizabeth does not waste any time and directly asks about Gioma, specifically how he was able to use the realm of the mind during his battle. Medea casually avoids answering the question, which only irritates all mute. In response, Elizabeth slams her fist into the wall behind her in frustration. Medea, however, does not tolerate such behavior and immediately releases her aura, overwhelming Elizabeth with pressure and forcing her to stop. For a brief moment, all mute freezes as she experiences the power of the headmistress, someone even the elders cannot oppose. She recalls the rumors from the hero world about Medea's former title. Before she became known as a Grand Sage, she was once called the Tyrant Medea. With Elizabeth now subdued, Medea calmly tells her to sit down so they can speak properly. She admits that she does not know what kind of rumors about Gioma led Elizabeth to become so courteous, but as the headmistress she must treat all of her students equally. She also reminds Elizabeth that she has told her many times before, if she wants to know something, she should find out for herself. With that, the conversation essentially ends as quickly as it began. Elizabeth stands up to leave, and Medea asks how long she plans to stay at the academy. Elizabeth replies that she had intended to leave the next day at noon, but Medea suggests that she should not rush and instead stay longer to enjoy the festival. Before leaving, Allmute asks one final question, whether Medea's words about treating everyone equally also apply to Gioma. Before Medea can give her answer, Elizabeth turns away, exits the room, and slams the door behind her, all while wondering who Kang Gioma truly is. By the final day of the festival, things have settled down and become much more manageable. Gioma suggests that they should only work during the morning and take the rest of the afternoon off. With things finally becoming less hectic, Chloe takes the chance to try asking Gioma to spend some time together again. She had handled most of the kitchen duties throughout the festival, and it was obvious that she worked the hardest among all of them. It is clear that she wants some kind of reward for all the effort she put in. Since there is nothing stopping them, Gioma asks Chloe if she would like to spend some time together after they finish closing the booth for the day. Chloe immediately agrees with excitement. However, when Gioma turns around, he notices Ryozo staring at him intensely. He wonders what her problem might be, but assumes it could be related to Speed Weapon. Regardless, the day passes without anything unusual happening, and everyone heads off to enjoy the rest of the evening. The only one who seems unhappy is Ryozo, though Gioma can tell why. Gioma then goes to the school courtyard to wait for Chloe, enjoying the calm atmosphere. However, even when he tries to relax, it does not come easily. The sound of a cane tapping nearby pulls him out of his thoughts, as an old man approaches and asks if he can sit beside him. As soon as the man settles down, Gioma directly asks him to state his purpose, already realizing that the man is Alter Auditory, the head of the Auditory family. The old man smiles and praises Gioma for his sharp instincts. In reality, Gioma recognized him because of the cane he carries, the S-rank cane sword syndicate from the game, which is famously associated with the head of the assassin family. With his identity no longer hidden, Alter gets straight to the point, assuming that Gioma already knows why he wanted to meet. Gioma assumes it is about the assassination request that the Council of Elders placed on him, but Alter shows no interest in discussing old family matters. Instead, he claims to be here for something more important. Before Gioma can figure out what that might be, Alter taps his staff on the ground, activating a domain around them. Gioma reacts instantly, preparing to draw Murasame from his pocket. Suddenly, the domain disappears just as quickly as it formed, and the old man casually asks what kind of relationship Gioma has with Chloe. The abrupt shift in tension catches Gioma off guard, but he answers anyway, stating that they are simply friends and nothing more. In the game, Alter had always been portrayed as a mysterious figure, so it is disappointing for Gioma to realize that the head of an assassin family might just be a strange old man. Still, he is clearly far from ordinary. With his question answered, Alter stands up to leave, but not before warning Gioma to take care of Chloe as a friend. Before he can go, Gioma asks whether Chloe truly needs to become an assassin. Despite her usual cute demeanor, Chloe has a wild and feral side, making it difficult to allow someone like her to move freely without restraint. Gioma had always believed that this behavior was the result of the Auditory family's training methods. However, Alter reveals that Chloe has always been like that, and the family actually tried to suppress her true nature. According to him, Chloe is inherently feral, and when that side of her surfaces, she can harm anyone around her. Gyoma refuses to accept that explanation and tells Altair to stop pretending. He then pulls out Murasame, and in that moment, all the seemingly ordinary people nearby reveal themselves as assassins, aiming directly at him. Despite being surrounded, Gyoma does not back down and prepares to face them all until Altair orders everyone to stand down. Gyoma has exceeded the old man's expectations, but at the same time, Altair has fallen below Gyoma's expectations. The old man leaves, and Gyoma is left wondering why he chose to behave in such a disturbing way toward the end of their conversation. Gyoma's thoughts are suddenly interrupted when Chloe comes running up to him to meet for their date. He smiles at her, and in that moment, he makes up his mind that no matter what anyone else says, he will never lose faith in Chloe. Meanwhile, Altair Auditore lets out a low cackle as he walks across the academy grounds. His mind is filled with thoughts about Gyoma's skill and potential. The boy is no longer just interesting, he is genuinely intimidating, even to someone as experienced as him. Altair eventually reaches an alley, where Nox is waiting. There, he admits that meeting Gyoma made the trip worthwhile, and that he is satisfied with how things went. He even reveals that it has been a long time since he has felt real fear towards someone. Hearing that, Nox is visibly shaken, as it is hard to imagine someone like Altair experiencing fear at all. Even so, Altair mentions that he would like to meet Gyoma again someday. At the same time, Gyoma continues his date with Chloe, deliberately avoiding any mention of his meeting with the auditory patriarch, so they can focus on simply enjoying their time together. According to the festival schedule, a parade will take place in the evening, followed by fireworks after sunset. Until then, they decide to walk around and take in the sights of the academy. The two of them spend the day exploring together, enjoying the festival atmosphere. By the time evening arrives, Gyoma starts to feel tired, and Chloe notices it right away. She asks if he is exhausted because of her, feeling a bit self-conscious, and she thinks she did not help enough during the festival preparations. In truth, without Chloe, the cooking booth likely would not have functioned at all. Gyoma gently pats her on the head and reassures her that she did her best and was a huge help throughout everything. As they sit together and enjoy the moment, Chloe gathers the courage to ask Gyoma something important, but before she can say it, Speed Weapon suddenly calls out to them. Gyoma is confused since they were supposed to spend their time separately. Speed Weapon shows him a message on his phone that appears to be from Gyoma, telling everyone to meet up at 5. Gyoma immediately realizes that he never sent such a message, and not long after, Ryoso gives him a teasing smile, making it clear who was responsible. As evening falls, the festival parade begins, and Chloe pulls Gyoma along to watch it. The others excitedly try to drag him toward the crowd, but he resists and sends them ahead without him. Once they leave, he sits down alone on a nearby bench. Crowds have never been his thing, and he prefers to experience the festival quietly. From where he sits, he looks toward his friends, with Chloe standing at the center. Even from a distance, she looks happy, but he cannot help remembering that she had something she wanted to say earlier. Looking ahead, he notices several couples enjoying themselves. Before we move ahead, please take a second to like on this video. A like tells me that you enjoyed this topic. Your support helps Amazing Apai grow naturally. Laughing and playing together, it makes him realize that he may have chosen the wrong place to sit. After spending so much time fighting demons and struggling to survive, it is easy to forget that the original game, Blessing of Miracle, always had a strong focus on romance. In his past life, he never had the time to think about relationships. He only appreciated the characters in the game, and although he was initially nervous around them, he still does not fully understand his own feelings now. It has only been 3 months since he entered the academy, yet he has already gone through countless life and death situations. There has been no opportunity for him to reflect on himself, especially over the past few days. He has constantly felt tense, without a single moment where he could truly relax. His thoughts are interrupted when a familiar voice approaches him. Ryoso walks over and casually drops down onto the bench beside him. Gyoma glances at her as she settles in. She is one of the main heroines in the original game, and even though he has used her as a character before, he has never been able to fully understand her. Still, he trusts her abilities and her judgment. Ryoso begins to blush when she notices him staring at her and calls him clueless for not recognizing her advances. Jeoma, however, takes her words too literally and grabs her shoulders, thinking she might be referring to some kind of danger. Being pulled so close to him makes her even more flustered, and she quickly pushes him away, complaining that he is hurting her. The two fall into an awkward silence. Ryoso then asks if he is upset about being pushed away. Jeoma says he is not, and instead says he has something he wants to ask her. That immediately makes her blush even harder as she starts overthinking what he might say. As she struggles to form words, Jeoma asks her if there is someone she likes. Ryoso blushes deeply at the question, but then Jeoma follows it up by asking if she likes Leon van Reinhardt. That instantly wipes the blush from her face. She crosses her arms and mutters that she should have known better than to expect anything from him. Jeoma, however, is confused, since in the game, he clearly remembers Ryoso being interested in Leon by the time of the final exams. Trying again, he asks if the person she likes is Speed Weapon, which immediately earns him a slap across the face. He walks away to tend to his injury, wondering how someone like an archer can hit that hard. In the meantime, Jeoma takes the chance to look through his blessing window. His armament grade has increased to 6, and that is most likely because of the Everfrost blade that he recently received. But aside from that, his synchronization rate has also gone up, and that is probably because of his battle with Malin. He still does not know whether the synchronization is something that benefits him, or something that could harm him, but he is certain that it has something to do with the blessing of the sword god that he currently possesses. As the festival slowly comes to an end, even though the world is filled with monsters and magic, it does not look that different from Earth during moments like these. Jeoma does not miss his past life either, since the only person he had there was his master. Even though he had been abandoned, he still learned how to use a knife for a period of time. Back then, he did not understand why he was being taught those skills, but now he realizes that learning different abilities allows a person to adapt to unexpected situations, so he is able to understand it a bit better. While he is thinking about everything that has happened in his life so far, he suddenly senses someone standing behind him. There is no mana coming from that person at all, which immediately makes him think that the individual must be some kind of villain. He pulls out his sword and activates the sword god's blessing. Then, by using the ground beneath him as a medium, he scans that entire area to detect any intruders, and he is able to locate the person instantly. Before they have any chance to escape, Jeoma makes his move and rushes toward them. The person lets out a startled cry, as Jeoma closes the distance at high speed and drives his blade straight into their chest. The woman collapses onto the ground and screams in pain. She turns toward him in fear, and hurriedly says that she only wanted to talk to him and did not intend to do anything dangerous. From the way she looks, Jeoma immediately recognizes that she is the same villain who has been targeting him ever since the Water Buffalo dungeon. He forces her to kneel in front of him so that he can question her. She reveals that her real name is Choisa Ale, and the reason she had been using the name Instructor Kim was so she could easily infiltrate the academy. She explains that there are others like her inside the academy who are working under different demon generals, but they constantly change their appearances, so even she does not know exactly how many there are. Without even being asked much, she ends up revealing everything she knows. She also mentions that some of the villains are already aware that Jeoma was the one who killed Eager, since some of them have already left. Jeoma then questions her about why she framed Leon van Reinhardt. She says that she does not know the reason. Jeoma pulls out his knife to intimidate her, and she immediately begins slamming her head against the ground, trying to prove that she is not lying. She explains that there is a professor among them who is responsible for making all the plans, and someone of her low rank would never be told what those plans actually are. Inside her own thoughts, Sala regrets ever coming to negotiate with Jeoma. At this point, if she returns to the villains, she is guaranteed to be killed. Jeoma can tell that she is telling the truth, but that still does not mean he intends to let her go easily. He asks her if she wants to live, and she immediately begs for her life. To ensure that she is not killed, he gives her 2 conditions. First, she must tell him everything she knows about this professor. She explains that the professor is a subordinate of Kirin, but that is all the information she has. That is not a name Jeoma expected to hear, but it does make sense, because while likeness sealed, Kirin would naturally be the one in charge. That also means that this professor is most likely somewhere inside the academy. The other villains do not know who the professor is, which is why he is viewed as the worst among them, since he pretends to be nothing more than a normal professor within the academy. Sayala appears to still be useful to Jeoma, but it is clear that she has lost her position after Eager's death. Jeoma can sense that she only has a very small amount of mana left, meaning she is not a threat to him at all. She really did come here to negotiate. The second thing he demands from her are the gems that allowed her to receive mana from Eager while he was alive. Before she can even attempt to lie about them, Jeoma cuts them out of her himself. The pair of stones he obtains are what form a contract with a demon general. The general holds the stone that supplies mana, while the subordinate holds the one that receives it. The seal also contains the life force of the subordinate, which means that whoever possesses it can control them like a leash. Now that he has obtained everything he needed, Jeoma leaves her behind, deciding that he will make use of her later. As he walks back toward the academy grounds, Ryoso sends him a message asking where he is. The two of them exchange messages for a bit, but when Ryoso starts typing her last message, she hesitates. Before she can send it, the sky suddenly lights up as a massive firework explodes, illuminating the entire area. She deletes what she was about to send and instead asks him if he saw the firework, then tells him to hurry back to her. Jeoma lets out a small smile before making his way back toward Ryoso, ready to enjoy the final moments of the last festival of his academy life. The next day, the festival has ended, and it is time for exams again. Jeoma and the travel club gather together to plan what they will do over the next few days, but the discussion quickly turns into the usual argument between Speed Weapon and Ryoso. The argument continues until Chloe steps in and beats Speed Weapon up, putting him into it. At this point, it almost feels like he has been getting beaten up by everyone more frequently lately. Right then, everyone's phone suddenly rings with a notification announcing that the terms of the final exams have been changed. Changing the exam just 3 days before the scheduled date feels strange, but there must be a reason behind it. Originally, the test was supposed to involve clearing the Goblin Dungeon in Gapyeon. Jeoma had actually been looking forward to that, mainly because of the materials he could obtain there. Now, however, it becomes clear to him that the story has started to deviate. Given everything that has happened so far, this change is not surprising, but it also means that Jeoma has lost one of his biggest advantages, the knowledge of the future that came from being a player. Because of that, he realizes that he will need to act much more cautiously from now on. Ryoso notices the worried expression on his face, and immediately steps in front of him to check what is wrong. Jeoma brushes it off, and instead continues discussing the changes to the exam. Ryoso speculates that the sudden change is likely because a demonoid appeared during their previous external exam, which led to the Sword Emperor being injured in Avalon. With so many dangerous incidents occurring during outside exams, it would make sense for the academy to move the next test inside for safety reasons. Hearing her explanation helps Jeoma calm down and his thoughts begin to settle. Once that is dealt with, he asks Ryoso for a favor regarding the faculty list she hacked earlier. Although she deleted the data afterward to avoid being tracked, she still has a printed copy. Jeoma asks her to hack into the academy network again. Then he explains the information he has about villains infiltrating the academy. The reason he wants another updated list is because villains constantly change their appearances, if they can come. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to Amazing Up High. Subscribing makes sure you do not miss the next video, and it gives me motivation to keep improving the quality of every upload. Thank you for being here, and I will see you in the next one.